Secretary.
Director Chacon,
Present.
Director Gedney,
Here.
Director Grajeda,
Here.
Director Hawkins,
Here.
Director Oscui,
Here.
Director Vasquez, President Apodaca.
Here. Director Chacon, would you lead us in the invocation? Director Security, to the pledge of allegiance.
Lord, we come before you this morning. We pray for your wisdom, your knowledge, insight, boldness, courage, and comprehension, Lord. Please help us to make the right decisions, Father God, for the betterment of the district, Father God. And I also pray against any evil spirits, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please face the flag, put your right hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment presentations.
We have no public comment sheets. We do have one presentation of Roman Gonzalez. This award is in recognition of the extraordinary performance and commitment to the district as one purveyors in the community serves work in the engineering and operations department. Roman did an excellent job preparing documents and managing the process needed to facilitate the design and construction of the recent UTC Aerospace Recycled Water Pipeline project. Roman managed the engineering and technical services. Successful project that increased recycled water supply and sales in the amount of 88 acre-feet per year. UT Aerospace is the largest customer connected to the district in several years. For his extraordinary commitment and service, the board recognizes Roman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, please, the board, in the interest of time, we're going to defer the Metropolitan, the consent calendar, and go right to the action items at this time and into closed session, and then we'll come back and finish the rest of it.
Okay. Jackie.
Good morning, directors. Okay.
Mr. President, with all due respect,
Trying to check on Director Vasquez.
Jackie, are we voting on item 12? Okay, I'm going to have to abstain from this item, so I'm going to remove myself, and I'll come back in after you guys vote on this item.
Well, excuse me, you have a conflict?
I made my comment. I don't believe directors should be going over there cutting deals when we have something in process, and that's...
Point of clarification, what do we mean by cutting a deal? Point of clarification. I need a clarification from either the general manager or the
I
attorney.
never mentioned
What
any
deal are we
names.
talking about?
If you chose to explain...
Point of clarification, what does that mean?
I have no idea what cutting a deal means in this case. I know a couple of directors had gone over and met with them. They got educated on the project. As a result of that, we've had an agreement with Whittier. It's changed a little bit, but everything is basically the same as it's been for, since we started working on this over a year and a half ago. So, okay.
Councilwoman,
Yeah.
would that be a cause of action that we just witnessed for someone else to recuse themselves from the decision-making process? Because I heard this last time also, at the last meeting. But there is a discussion that can take place, and then people can vote the way they want to vote.
I I've not heard of any basis normally for a recusal and leave the dais and not participate. There'd have to be a conflict of interest.
Obviously there is no conflict by Director Chacon, right? No. So he needs to be here at the dais?
He should be here to participate, yes. I can't physically bring him in.
Well, Mr. President, I want to talk about censorship of Director Chacon on this. To accuse directors of cutting a deal, I want to know what the definition of cutting a deal means. I want to know why he stated it. And I want to consider censoring this director in the future, immediately.
We will take that at the Admin and Ethics.
That's a future agenda item for the next board meeting.
Okay, well, let's take it through the committee first and have the investigation. And
I want the minutes to reflect that I'm asking what cut a deal means.
Okay, now can we go to the presentation on the item?
Proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. This item was reviewed another time at the most recent Engineering and Operations Committee in November this month. An in-depth presentation was given, and there was an involved discussion at the committee between committee members, staff, and the City of Whittier. Legal counsel gave a presentation at the committee that detailed protections they embedded in the transition agreement, which is before you today for approval. Because this item has already been discussed in depth, I have a more brief presentation for you today. For the first slide, thank you. On this slide, we're simply showing the pros and cons for transitioning the WQPP project that were identified by district staff, legal counsel, or by the city. I won't go through each one today, however, I will address the few that have drawn the most concern during this process. The first is the shedding of potential contamination liability that could be imposed on the district in the future. Recognizing this possibility, legal counsel developed language for the transition agreement and presented that language in depth at the committee. Hefty protections are in the transition agreement. It is important to note that if this item is not approved, it is not guaranteed, but there is a chance the district may be held responsible in the future for responsibilities surrounding contamination. And with approval, this future potential liability is eliminated. The second item is another important and potentially costly liability issue, and it is the restoration obligation costs. And costs were recently estimated by Whittier to be upwards of $1 million, and that is because the infrastructure is intertwined with their pumping plant number 2. If this item is not approved, the district will be responsible for site restoration costs. That's only if the WQPP project is ended. Legal counsel verified that these costs are not covered by the involved cities under the previous or the current agreements, and that would mean that the district would be responsible. Another item listed as a pro, as presented previously, transferring the WQPP does not adversely affect the district's debt coverage ratio, and it reduces the pressure to maintain it. And moving down the list, another pro shown here is the new administration charge, which will be written into the transition agreement if it is approved today. This is a $10 per acre-foot administration fee, and the administration charge will be to compensate the district for continued future involvement with the WQPP, and it will be paid over 10 years. And Whittier mentioned that they anticipate to take around 4,000 acre-feet per year, and this would total approximately $40,000 per year for the district. And in addition to the aforementioned benefits, there are a few more pros listed here for your consideration. Something to mention is that transferring the WQPP will help the City of Whittier continue to provide a safe drinking water supply for their community. And the one con identified that transferring the project reduces, or that was identified, is that transferring the project reduces the district's involvement in regional water management, albeit this is a very minor portion of the district's overall portfolio, and the WQPP is a special and unique project that is in its own separate category involving 3 cities out of the district's 27. And with that, I would like to see if the board has any questions that we can address today.
Questions, anyone?
No questions.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I would like to move to proceed with option 1 as recommended by staff and authorize the general manager to carry out and put into effect the details of the agreement with the City of Whittier as articulated in option number 1.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Director Chacon? Director Gedney?
Yes.
Director Grajeda?
Yes.
Director Hawkins? Director Oscui?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Yes?
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more. Our second action item is to approve the legal bill because it is over $25,000. I've reviewed the bill in detail. The normal work of the district, which includes general counsel activities, administrative code, finance, which we had a bunch of work on this last month, the recycle water, the AB 1794, there was a little bit on, and the WQPP, all totaled out to about $17,000, 17 to 18. The litigation items that we're discussing in closed session was another $10,000, and that's the reason for the overage. I recommend approval of the bill.
Mr. President, just a general question. So approximately of this $47,000, we're hoping to get, about $4,000 approximately is due to the WQPP.
Yes. 3.8 actually, yeah.
Mr. President, if there aren't any questions, I'll make the motion to approve this item.
Second that.
Roll call, please.
Director Chacon? Director Gedney?
Yes.
Director Grajeda?
Yes.
Director Hawkins? Director Oscui?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
No?
President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
Okay, the motion does not pass. We have an outstanding bill. What I intend to do is work with the attorneys and either feather it in or bring it back to the board until it's approved. It's money they spent in good conscience, and the bills have been there for the directors to review, so.
Kevin, I have asked, actually 2 meetings ago, that I be given an update from the lawyers on the work that is being done at Central Basin before our board meetings. I came in on, I think it was Tuesday, to review the legal bills. I didn't get a chance to review all of them, and I want to make sure that I review all of the legal bills. There's a lot of legal work that is done that we have no knowledge of, that we never get any reports on, and I believe as a board we have an obligation to know what the lawyers are working on, and so I will take my time to review the legal bills prior to the meeting so that we can vote on these. And unfortunately, because of the holidays, I wasn't able to do it. Two issues. One is I still haven't received an email from the lawyers for a date and time for us to meet before the board meeting so they can brief us on the work that they're doing. And also I don't have a set date for me to come in to review the legal bills. And so I want to work with you to make that happen so that we don't have to go through
Okay,
this.
Director, that's perfectly okay. We'll set the date and time, both with the attorneys and with me, and we'll bring this back to the next board meeting.
Kevin, just a point of clarification. What has been the previously agreed upon procedure set by this board as far as the expenditure for legal services are concerned? I know you have authority up to $25,000, but when the work is continuing to take place and the amount of the invoice exceeds $25,000 in any given month, then you come back just like you're doing it now.
Exactly.
Has there been a discussion about the work needs to be approved prior to the meeting?
No, sir. We do the work as each item that they're working on has actually been approved and discussed by the board. There's nothing new on this.
Right.
But the depth, and again, I appreciate Director Vasquez willing to come in, and Director Grajeda's come in and looked at the bills. Director's the one who can. It's just difficult to schedule because our code says it's supposed to be done with the staff member present is supposed to review it. So we try and stick with the code when we do it. And that's for all directors. But in the past, we've just brought them to the board. But I think the way we're going now actually works. I apologize, we haven't had, because of the holidays, the schedule, we haven't been able to sit down with Director Vasquez with enough time, but we'll do it and we'll bring it back next month. I think we'll be fine.
I have a question. I'm not sure if this is for Director Vasquez or for you, Kevin, but what I heard was that Director Vasquez wants to meet with the attorneys. That's an additional expense. Is it in person or is it on the phone?
We were just going to tie her in by phone and just do a phone call. That's all we needed.
Conference call.
And only if she needed clarification on stuff. We had tried to set it up, it just didn't schedule for the holiday. Set it up so there's a set time where she can review the bill and they'll be available on call if we have a question.
Okay.
So it should be very
I mean, it's real basic. I'm just interested, I think as an elected official, I'm obligated to understand what I'm voting for, and when these bills come before me, I don't know what work is being done by the lawyers, and so I would like to understand what I'm voting for. I do understand that we need, an attorney that represents us, that works on contracts. I don't know what they're doing, so I would like to understand the work that they're doing so that when the bill comes before me, I understand what they're getting paid for.
And I'll make a point of sitting down.
I know Bill charges for phone calls too every 5 minutes. But
Yes, it will still cost.
And also for driving over here. I've seen the bills. And that's fine.
Pardon me. The bills, from what I recall, they are detailed.
Yes, they're very detailed bills, plus there's a summary letter that goes with it.
So if I were to review the bills, I would clearly see what is it that they are
Exactly.
they're doing. Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, we go to item 4 now?
I think we should go to closed session.
Closed session.
Okay,
Closed session.
the board is going to meet in closed session regarding item 18, conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, one case, and item 19, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Ronald Belkey versus Central Basin Municipal Water District, goes 1 through 100, Los Angeles Superior Court case number BC 721401. As a reminder, the Brown Act prohibits the disclosure of confidential information acquired in a closed session by any person present and offers various remedies to address willful breaches of confidentiality. These include injunctive relief, disciplinary action against an employee, and referral of a member of the legislative body to the grand jury. It is incumbent upon all those attending lawful closed sessions to protect the confidentiality of those discussions. Only the legislative body, acting as a body, may agree to divulge confidential closed session information. As regards attorney-client privilege communications, the entire body is the holder of the privilege, and only a majority vote of the entire body can authorize the waiver of privilege. Mr. President, we're ready to go into closed session. The board is met in closed session to discuss item 18, conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, one case, no reportable action, and number 19, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, Ronald Belkey versus Central Basin Municipal Water District, goes 1 through 100, Los Angeles Superior Court, case number BC 721401, no reportable action is taken.
Mr. President, now we go to Metropolitan report, the brief Metropolitan report, and then the consent calendar, and then we go back to item 14.
Okay, just a brief update on Metropolitan Activities Update. Just one item to report on. They are continuing to work on their program for increasing conservation programs in disadvantaged communities, and they're looking to formulate a pilot program that will be starting shortly. This program would be comprised of 3 parts. It would be the regional pilot program, it would be a member agency administered program support, and then they would look to seek for grant funding along with member agencies. So under this regional pilot program, they're talking about increasing rebate incentives up to $250 for multifamily, for high-efficiency toilet to be placed in multifamily units that were built before 1994. The member agency administered program funding would include more flexibility and increased access for funding. And then, as I had mentioned, Metropolitan would look to identify grant fundings. We'll continue to bring back more information for you as this program further develops. And that's all I have for Metropolitan updates.
Thank you. Director Hawkins, do you have any other comments about Met activities? Okay. If not, do we have then go to consent calendar? Does anybody have any questions about any item? If not, do I have a motion to approve consent calendar?
Mr. President, I would like to respectfully request that the board pull the minutes. I have a lot of issues with the minutes as they were written. I can comment on those now, and I will not be voting on items 6, 7, only because I was out last week and didn't have a chance to go through those two items thoroughly. So I will abstain on items 6 and 7, but I'd like to respectfully ask that the minutes be pulled. Specifically, there was a lot of detailed comments made regarding item number 3, the refinancing of the bonds, specifically regarding rate increases that I believe that Director Gadney and I were very concerned about, and that information was not put in the minutes.
As directors, and again, I know the section you're talking about, and if you'd like, we can play the tapes for you of what was said, because that's what we have to go by. So if you and Director Getty be glad to meet sometime, we can play the tape and check it against the minutes and make sure you're happy.
The problem with the tape, Kevin, is that the conversation of the folks that were in the meeting understood it. But if I have to then to get the comment in the minutes reflecting what was said and the reason it was said, then I have to state in my comments, because you're recommending that we increase rates 10, 12% going forward, in approving these bonds, are we approving rates in the future 10 or 15? I don't understand. I didn't realize I had to say that in order for that to be reflected in the minutes.
I think the bond counsel responded no to those questions, that each
That's
future...
not in the minutes.
I believe you find it in there, but I'll be glad to go over with you. But bottom line is, if you're abstaining on things, we do not have a quorum, and so there will be no vote to approve the consent calendar of just 4 people.
I'm only abstaining on 5, 6, and 7. I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar, except for that I will be abstaining on 5, 6, and 7.
Okay, then we will, let's go and take that. We'll save that. We'll bring them back again in December.
I'll second that.
Do I have a motion then?
Yes, you do.
I made a motion
He
to...
moved it, he seconded.
Correct.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Director Chacon?
Nope.
Director Gedney?
Yes.
Director Grajeda?
Yes.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Oscui?
Yes.
Director Vasquez? President Apodaca?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item now, I guess 14.
Mr. President, I respectfully request that I've got to leave for another meeting. Sorry.
Yeah, we still do.
Alrighty, good afternoon, directors. I'll be providing this month's legislative update, which include a brief overview of the 2008 general election and a quick update on what took place at the 2019 legislative coordinators meeting for Metropolitan Water District coordinators. With respects to the 2018 general election, there were 2 items of note that would have been of interest to the water industry. That included Proposition 3, which would have authorized $8.877 billion in state general obligation funds for various infrastructure projects related to water. That measure did not pass. Locally here in the County of Los Angeles, Measure W, which would establish a parcel tax for the Los Angeles County Clean Water Program, did pass with a over two-thirds support. There were congressional races as well as assembly races and 3 state senate races. What I'll do is briefly discuss some of those measures. With respect to Measure W, this is an issue that deals with compliance with cleanup of stormwater that's been a lingering issue for cities to the tune of about $20 billion. As stated, this was this past muster with 67.8% support would institute a county-wide parcel tax based off impermeable areas. It would go with respect to funding for stormwater and urban water runoff projects that improve water quality, water supply, and provide a community investment benefit. Projects that would be prioritized would be those that assist in achieving compliance with the municipal separate stormwater system discharge. With respect to funding, it would generate up to $300 million in the county, with 10% going to the county, 40% going to municipalities, and half of it going to the 9 watershed areas, of which Central Basin sits in 2, the Lower LA and the San Gabriel.
I'm sorry, is the $300 million on an annual basis?
Annual basis. Annual basis, yes. And over 30 years. And the Lower LA portion would get $13.9 million. The San Gabriel would get $17.4. And those watersheds, as stated, are ones in which within Central Basin serves. For individuals that have interest in what their parcel tax would be estimated at, there's a parcel tax calculator that constituents can look at. This would undergo a review after 30 years, at which point there would be the option of the parcel tax being reduced to fund operation, maintenance, and or replacement. As indicated, there's a regional program funding aspect, which includes the Lower LA and Lower San Gabriel Valley, and also municipal program funds. And we can provide you directors information on what each of the cities within our service area would receive under this program. Government and nonprofit parcels would be exempt, as well as low-income seniors. With respect to the Central Basin Service Area as it relates to elections, the Central Basin Service Area is served by 7 members of Congress, 5 state senators, and 9 assembly members. Of the races with respect to the United States Congress, all but one were re-elections. That was the 39th district, which is split between Los Angeles and Orange County, which is currently served by Ed Royce, was the only election in which there was going to be a new member, and that new member elect is Gilbert Cisneros. We now know that the House majority will be taken over by Democrats, while Republicans have retained their majority in the Senate. With regards to a change in majority, we do know that there are several Californians that are poised to take on leadership roles in the next session. Kevin McCarthy has been elected minority leader. Nancy Pelosi has announced her intention to run for speaker again. With respect to our congressional service area, it is of note that several members serve on committees of interest to the district, such as us having 3 members that serve on the House Committee on Natural Resources. With respect to the state senate, there were 3 open seats. The 22nd, which is currently represented by Ed Hernandez, the 24th, which was represented by former Senate Pro Tem Kevin De Leon, and 32nd Senate District, which was previously served by Vanessa Delgado, and this was due to the resignation of former Senator Tony Mendoza. So there's going to be a significant turnover with respect to our Senate delegation, and there will now be a vacancy in the 33rd Senate District, which essentially extends from Bell Gardens out to Long Beach. That is Ricardo Lara, who is the insurance commissioner-elect. So once he assumes that position, there will be a resignation, and then the governor will then have the opportunity to call a special for that area, for that seat. And then lastly, with respect to our state assembly, we are now essentially in an era in which legislators have up to 12 years to serve in the same house. So all 9 seats within the state assembly come up every year. All of the incumbents were re-elected. And that essentially is an overview of the election as it relates to the Central Basin Service Area. Oh, and one last note. One of the major issues that was a point of discussion at the last MWD Legislative Coordinators Planning meeting was bringing up the issue of safe drinking water. We did discuss this last year with the board, and the board did take an opposed unless amended position. This was essentially to develop a fund at the state that would be administered by the State Water Resources and Control Board to be funded by charges on meters on retailers throughout the state. This is an issue that the legislature has indicated that is going to be coming back up in the next legislative session, which will start in January. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on and keep the board apprised of. And unless there are any questions, thank you very much.
There has to be one point of clarification. Under the summary section of your report,
Yes.
last sentence, it says that district staff provided an overview at the November Water Resources and Government Affairs Committee. Did we have a meeting in November?
We did. We had committee. Yeah, we had committee in
There was
November.
no quorum.
There was no quorum.
So
Oh.
we need to,
So that's a typo on my end. So thank you for the correction.
Okay.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Item 15, financing update.
Thank you. I think I have another minute so I can say good morning. I want to be the first one, and I believe I sent an email that the staff forwarded to you, that the district successfully refinanced approximately $19.4 million of debt. That was the day before Thanksgiving. So there's a little recap in the memo. I said there were a few items, a few hurdles maybe that the refinancing overcame. I'll briefly summarize those. The letter of credit was not renewed beyond December of 18. That was an issue that came up a few months ago. We did get a downgrade from Moody's in July of 2018. The debt covenant ratio of 1.15 times was not met for the last 2 fiscal years. Some of the litigation and settlements, as the board is well aware of, we did not receive bond insurance, any bids for bond insurance for this refinancing. So that was another hurdle that we overcame. The actual debt had a small taxable component, a larger non-tax or tax-exempt component, and that relatively small taxable component was difficult to sell. And also, along with the Moody's downgrade from July, we did receive a downgrade from S&P in the last few weeks. Those ratings are now compatible, both S&P's and Moody's. So that's a few of the hurdles. However, there's some good news. And like I said, there was $19.4 million of bonds that were issued. It did lower our cost, estimated at 5.57% currently from the previous over 6% if you consider the letter of credit costs. It did generate some significant cash flow savings in the next 5 years, which allows the district an increased probability for us to meet our debt coverage ratio over those 5 years. It reduced the volatility of those 2008 bonds. As you recall, those were variable rate interest bonds. So the interest rate risk, the swap risk, the risk from the letter of credit. Also, Wells Fargo was able to successfully sell 48% of the bonds on our behalf, but they stepped up and underwrote the additional 52%, buying them themselves. So that's a positive. We did get the removal of the negative watch on the credit rating from Moody's from July. And lastly, the district was able to close the whole transaction in less than a week, like I said, the day before Thanksgiving. So we actually queried all the parties on the financing team, and they said this was a record close for them in less than a week. So lastly, I just wanted to, on behalf of staff, thank the board for your direction and approval of this. And we were very thankful in the spirit of Thanksgiving for the financing team, which included the underwriter, the investment advisor, the financial advisor, and the bond and disclosure council. So thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 16, water use efficiency rebate activity report. Sandy?
Good afternoon, directors. The report this morning that I have for you is a new report that we are introducing this year. It is a comprehensive annual report that we'll be providing annually now to all of our purveyors as well as to you, the board. And what this report summarizes is the activity of the MWD rebate program that can be found on the SoCal Water Smart website. These are the rebates that both commercial customers as well as residents have access to in our service area. If you look on page 3 of the report and page 4, these 2 pages are the summary for each of the agencies. They're organized by the residential and commercial rebate amount totals, and you'll see there for each of our purveyors. And then right behind it is the residential and commercial turf rebate program. For fiscal year 17-18, we had a total of under $300,000. And for fiscal year 13-18, we had a shocking amount thanks to the turf program, which was close to $9 million that were accessed by our service area. So that's pretty impressive for us, and to see what a need and a need for the rebate program that we have for our service area. You'll see on the memo that the most popular devices were the toilets, the clothes washers, the rotating sprinkler nozzles, the weather-based irrigation controllers, and so on. And that concludes my report if there's any questions. No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 17, update on the Los Angeles County Sanitation District Water Code section and recycle water customer connection and project.
Good afternoon, directors. Staff wanted to provide an update on what has been going on in regards to the new recycled water customer connections and projects that we have ongoing in the Engineering and Operations Department, and how we've been coordinating these with the sanitation districts, or LACSD. And as you already know, LACSD informed district staff that they have been facing environmental related challenges, and the challenges have been addressing habitat downstream of the San Gabriel River. And the least bells vireo and related vegetation are among the main habitat concerns. The LACSD attended a district engineering committee in June of this year to provide a presentation on the process, and this would be to file a change petition application with the State Water Resources Control Board, and it's their Water Rights Division, and to obtain approval. Before they can submit their application to the state, they need to address the environmental concerns, specifically regarding reducing recycled water discharges to the river, and to fulfill the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, requirements for that process. To comply with this, LACSD prepared an initial study and mitigated negative declaration with an adaptive management plan titled the San Gabriel River Watershed Project to reduce river discharge in support of increased recycled water reuse. And they received 7 comments from 7 agencies. Those are listed in your memo. The district and WRD provided support letters. This would be in lieu of public comments. And we wanted to note that the district did hire an environmental engineering firm, WSP, to review LACSD's initial study, mitigated negative declaration with adaptive management plan. At this time, LACSD did say that they plan to continue to work on addressing environmental concerns and to to beef up their environmental documents. This effort is in response to the public comments received, of which some have requested a full environmental impact report. To confirm if they need to do a full environmental impact report, LACSD has brought on the Southern California Coastal Water Research Project Group to review their documents and to provide input on that need. And LACSD assumes it may take between 1 to 2 years to complete the entire process, which includes the additional environmental efforts. Moving on to new connections, and as you're already aware, to help us, the district, LACSD created a new supply of recycled water, approximately 896 acre-feet per year at the Los Coyotes Water Reclamation Plant only, and this is by reducing the frequency of backwashing their filters at the plant. Currently, district staff, along with Infomark, our operators, are monitoring and tracking flows from both recycled water sources, and that's San Jose Creek and Los Coyotes, on a weekly basis and reporting this to LACSD on a monthly basis. We are also adjusting the settings at the PRV, at the pressure reducing station, as needed to ensure new connections in the northern service area above the PRV station only result in pulling supplies from Los Coyotes, and staff are getting help from Infomark and Tetra Tech for this as well. Currently, for every new recycled water customer connection, a formal request is made to LACSD. Staff wanted to provide this correspondence to you. The first letter request from the district was dated August 15th, 2018, and is attached to your memo as Exhibit A. That's where we requested approval for Montebello Golf Course, new Heritage Plaza sites, Moon Valley Nursery, and for irrigation of the Albert Robles Center for Water Recycling and Environmental Learning, or formerly the GRIP project. Exhibit B is a letter dated September 19th, which was from LACSD approving our request. Exhibit C is a letter that was issued from Kevin, sent to purveyors to let them know about what was happening and to ensure that they obtained approvals ahead of time from the district and LACSD before they moved forward with their own projects. And this is because currently we cannot guarantee supplies until a LACSD obtains their approved change permit from the state. Exhibit D is our most recent request to LACSD for more connections, and we're currently waiting on a response for those. The additional sites we requested are shown in your memo, and that's in tables 1 and 2. And additional recycled water customer connections that we are considering for a third request are listed in Table 3. And one thing to mention for this item is that the district received a response to the notification letter sent to purveyors by Kevin, and that was previously referenced as Exhibit C. This response was from Suburban Water Systems, and they mentioned that they are interested in moving forward with the process to obtain approval from the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC, and that would be to invest in the La Mirada project. And in order to do this, they will need to include the La Mirada project in their general rate case application, and this would be submitted in September of 2019, and approval of the project may be sometime in July of 2020, and we are going to be discussing this further with LACSD and Suburban Water, and we'll be providing updates as we have more answers. And that concludes my update, unless you have any questions.
Questions? Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 20, General Counsel's report.
Mr. President, I'm informed that Nixon Peabody indicates that there have been no reportable hotline phone calls, and that's the extent of my report.
Item 21, General Manager.
A couple of things. One, Cecilia will be distributing hard copies to the board of both the CAFR, the California Annual Financial Report, and the official statement of the bonds. We have a copy for each of you. Has a lot of good information in it about the projections and all of that, so I urge you to take a look at that. In addition, on Friday, December 7th, the district will have a board meeting. Like you're there, it's a formal swearing in of the new directors. So it'll be at noon at the district offices on Friday, December 7th. And the agenda will be posted today for that. And then next month, a reminder that the committees will take place the first week in December, and that the board meeting will take place on the third Monday of the month instead of the fourth, per the district's admin code. And that's the extent of my comments for now.
Item 23, Director's comments. Dr. Gaddy, nothing? Dr. Chacon?
No comment.
Mr. Hawkins? If not, meeting's adjourned.